Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Esports Analysis. In today's video, we're going to watch Chicago and Atlanta again. I know that we've watched them quite a bit lately, but there's one map that Chicago can't seem to win. And it's not only about Atlanta, it's about a couple other teams as well. Normally, this is the first map that's always played, and they just seem to never really do very well at this map. So we're watching Hackney Yard, and I figure because the gameplay is so short, I do want to break down spawns so that when we're watching the gameplay, we can talk about what might actually be happening. So as the first hill comes up here, there's a good spawn and there's a bad spawn. So the reason why this is the good spawn is because, so the first hardpoint's right here, but you want to hold down this spawn because the second part hardpoint is back there. So on this map, there are two really clutch hardpoints. The second hardpoint you can max out, and the fifth hardpoint you can max out. If you get control of those two, then chances are you're probably going to win the game. So we already kind of talked about first. The only thing you want to do is just hold down this side of the map. If you hold down that side of the map, then you'll have positioning for the second hardpoint. Now, as that first hardpoint is happening, what you're going to see teams do is you'll have one or two people inside the warehouse, normally in hill, and their sole purpose is really just to contest time. And what teams are really trying to do is set up in these head glitches right here and watch mid-map so nobody can flank around. And the key is the head glitches on this side of the map watching bottom green. So if you have 5 players kind of in these situations, then you're probably going to be able to hold down spawns as it rotates back to the second hill. So just say, for example, there's an enemy that's in this top window at 4th and he kills this person and then they start to flood through here. If that happens, then the person that's set up on this head glitch right here can then get that kill while the other person rotates back. So there's a lot of trading that goes on right here, but essentially all you want to do is just lock down the right side of the map. Don't let them push through green, and then hold that down as it goes to second. Now, as it goes to second, what you want to do is have, again, people pushed up in this area and not allow the enemies through these routes. Now, if they do get through, so if this becomes contested, there's still a good side and there's a bad side. There's a good side over here and a bad side over here. So that's if this hill in the middle right here gets contested, then you want to be here. That way you can push out, and there's multiple windows and doors. Remember, there's a door underneath here. There are multiple windows and doors that you can still slay the enemy out from. Whereas, think about it, if you're the enemy spawning on this side, there's only 2 ways really you could get into the hill. You can come up these stairs or you can go through this bottom door. But even if you go through that bottom door, you still have to go upstairs inside the hill, and that's easy to be countered by somebody that's standing at the top of these stairs. So either way, you still want to make sure that on this second hill, you're holding down this backside if you do get pushed through. Now, as it rotates to third, so as we get to the third hardpoint, from the third, fourth, and fifth hardpoint, you want to have this side of the map, just so that you're setting up spawns for that fifth hardpoint. So for the third and the fourth hardpoint, it doesn't really matter too much, but as it goes to that fifth hardpoint, you definitely want to be spawning back there. So again, for third, what you'll see teams do is, say you're the team that had this spawn on the second hardpoint. Then if you're the enemy team, what you're going to do is you're going to push back, and there's 2 things that you really want to hold. You want to hold mid-map, and you really want to hold bottom L. So this area right here, bottom and top L. So what teams will do is they'll have people set up kind of in these locations over here, not allowing the enemy team through, because what the enemy team is going to try to do is they're going to try to push through first and then push out bottom L and get behind them to get spawns, and that's what you cannot have happen. So that's why as you go to the third and the fourth hardpoint, there's such a big presence on this side of the map, this L, top L and bottom L area, just because if the enemy gets through there and they get back to this back spawn, now you're going to be spawning out and they're going to be in position for that fifth hill. Now, the fifth hill, so there's a couple ways to go about this. You want to be spawning the team here. You don't want to be spawning mid-map. Now, a couple things that I will say. If you're an enemy, you can post up in top L here, and if there's not smoke, so what your C teams do is they'll smoke out this cross right here so that you can't see through there. Now, if you don't, what you want to do as the enemy team is you want to try to push through this way. And if you push through this way, so over here by green, if you push out this way, then what's going to happen is the enemy team is going to be spawning right here. And if you have somebody posted up in top L, they can kill them before they can get back into the fifth hardpoint. So think about it. You're the enemy team. You don't have spawns. So what you want to do is push people top heaven over here through this flank by blue van. And if you do that, that's going to force the enemy team to spawn in this corner. And if the enemy team doesn't throw the smoke in this cut, they're going to go down. They're going to die before they can get back into hill. And that's the easiest way to flip this spawn. So just a little bit of background knowledge before we get into this, because a lot of this stuff comes into play and it has a lot to do with why Chicago can't win these battles. So with that, let's go ahead and let's break down the film. All right, so if we hop into the breakdown here, I am hopping on board with Formal instead of one of the SMG players just because I want to be able to watch spawns throughout this game. So the SMG players, if I hopped on board with Scump or Envoy or somebody that's in the hill a lot, then we wouldn't really get to see what's going on with spawns. But right now, Chicago started on the bad side and they were able to flip spawns. And it looks like, if you're looking at the minimap in the top left-hand corner, they all pushed out from spawn and they all died. So that's kind of the first thing that we want to point out here, is that they successfully rushed through mid-map and were able to flip spawns. And then once they flipped, they all rushed into the hill and died. What they should have done is, so Formal was posted up there, but what the rest of them should have done, and it looks like, I think Formal's stream just paused there for a second. It wasn't my internet. It was actually Formal stream. But it looked like what happened is Formal was the only one that was posted up. The other 4 players rushed into the hill. When they all went down, they spawned out, and then they got pushed back through again. So that is the worst thing that could happen, because now they're spawning on the other side of the map as it rotates back to that second hard point, which is super important that we talked about in the intro, and this is going to be impossible to break. Not only do they not have the bad spawn back by that hill, but they're completely spawning out. So at this point in time, I don't even know how much I would continue to rush through there. At this point, I would just try to hold down first. So hold down this warehouse area that Formal's in. I wouldn't let them sneak through green. I would just hold down. So there you saw ABEZY try to sneak through green because they're trying to flip spawns to get that 5th hard point. So at this point, just get the cuts and then set up for that 5th hard point. So it looks like right now they're doing a decent job. Formal just went down in hill, but that's really not all that important because they have enough time to go ahead and rotate and pick up that kill. But they're going to have a conscious effort here. It's rotating right now. The hard part about this 3rd hill is actually getting time in the hard point. So it's difficult to get time in, because if the enemy team is bottom L, if the enemy team is mid map, then you're probably going to go down there. But right now, it looks like they might be able to pick up a little bit in terms of this deficit. They are down by 40, but again, that's not a huge deal, especially if you can hold down this backside for the 5th hard point. If you lose the 2nd hard point, but you win the 5th, then it's basically going to be a tie game going back into the 2nd set of rotation. So again, that hard point, that 2nd hard point, you don't want to lose, but those are big kills right there. So like that one from Formal right there, that's a big kill, because if that person sneaks through heaven and gets that back spawn, when Chicago dies and goes down, they're going to spawn out. So that was a really big kill. So just trying to get an idea in terms of what's happening. If I'm looking at the minimap in that top left-hand corner, so there was just a ton of fighting back in that corner, and Formal was the one that was in hill. And you can't have that. If you're Chicago, Formal has to be the one guarding back heaven. That's his strong suit. He is a nasty AR. He's one of the best ARs in the game, and that's why he's such a coveted member of teams, is because he does such a good job at holding down spawns. So he cannot be, even if you're giving up time on that 3rd one or whatever, he has to be the one that's back watching those spawns. So in this 3rd hard point, they're getting, or this 4th hard point, they're getting points in here, but it's all going to be negated when it rotates here because they don't have spawns for this 5th one. If I'm Formal, what I would want to be doing right now is trying to push up top heaven. That's kind of like the sneaky route to get around. So the left choke point, the right choke point is super hard to get through. That's something that's always watched. But if you could sneak up through heaven and get into that top 5th hard point, then you can kind of contest a little bit and you can do some damage, and hopefully you can spawn people out. But right now it does not look like that's happening. So not only is Atlanta in that 4th hard point in green, but they're also have spawns for the 5th hard point, and they're pushed out into the chokes. So you're going to notice that when Chicago's coming off spawns, they're not spawning mid-map. They're spawning like in the back. They're spawning on the back side of warehouse. So normally if it's pretty contested, like up into the hard point, stuff like that, you're going to spawn right around this area that Formal's in now. But if Atlanta is pushed out into the cuts, you're going to spawn even further back. And see, that's exactly what I was just talking about. That right flank, it's so hard to get through, whereas when in just that little bit of a kill feed, it was a little bit easier. You were able to push up a little bit more for that 5th hard point. Now, as we rotate here, there's about 20 seconds left. You just saw Formal get killed by that person that jumped over wall. So Atlanta is already trying to push up into warehouse, and they're trying to flip spawns here. So right there, you see 2 people in green. And the reason why they're in green is because they're trying to push through that left choke point, that green choke point over there, and they're trying to flip spawns. They're still over there. There's a massive battle over on the other side of the map. If you're Atlanta, you don't really care too much about what's going on in this first hill, because eventually, if you get spawns, you can push in and you can contest. But if you don't have spawns, then you don't have the time for that second hard point. And as Formal comes up right there, we didn't exactly see how it happened, but Formal came up, they spawned out, and now as we're going to rotate back to that second hard point, this is exactly what I just said. They got spawns, and now the last 30 seconds or so of this hill, Atlanta can push into this first hard point and contest, and they just took it over. This is exactly word for word, play by play, exactly what I was just talking about. So you know what, this is normally the part in the time of the videos where I let you listen in a little bit to what they're saying. So let's get on board. Let's try to hear what they're saying as we rotate back to the second hard point on the second set of rotations.
Hope you guys right.
Jump down,
Jump down. I know.
Top fire, I'm absolute.
Sim's under me.
I'm trying to help you left.
He's top fire.
I'm still here. Sim's pushing bottom L. One more and old. They're pushed out so far, dude. They're pushed out so far.
Yeah, you ran down the stairs.
That's exactly what's going on with Formal there. Is they're pushed out. He said they're pushed out so far. So when he's saying that they're pushed out, it's not that they can't get to the hill. They can't even get like close to the hill because Atlanta's pushed out so far. They continue to get kills and push Chicago back that they can't even get close. And now as it's rotating to the second hill, they aren't even on the same side of the map as the second hill, let alone kind of fighting over spawns.
Big 3 there.
Just getting fucking naded on spawn in real life.
Shock this one, bro.
I mean, yeah.
And that's going to be all she wrote. So, yeah, look, it's exactly what we talked about in the intro. They didn't have spawns for the second hard point. They didn't have spawns for the 5th hard point. Even at the very beginning of the map, when they broke that hill, they didn't have spawns then either. So it all comes down to not only breaking spawns, but being able to hold them and being in the correct chokes once you're there. Look at the kills. The highest kill was Formal with 18, and then look down underneath. ABEZY 27, SIMP 27. I mean, they just got absolutely shellacked there. So with that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Esports Analysis. We are 1 week away from the Minnesota LAN, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so that once that LAN hits, I'm going to be your headquarters for that. So 15, 20, 25 videos every match I'm going to be uploading, giving you some analysis of what's happening and what's going on. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to leave without leaving a like, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll see you.